Good morning, class. I'm going to go ahead and click into Module 11, Assignment slash Psychology Project. This week, we're going to focus solely on our psychology project, which is for my in-class courses, 20% of your grade. For the online courses, is 25% of your grade because it is the required proctored event. So if you're my in-class students, 20% of your grade, online 25%. It is a required proctored event, which means that I have to see your face. So it has to be a recording, a visual recording, not an audio recording of you all showing your identification. That identification can either be a school ID, or the identification can be a state issued ID or any government issued ID will work. So school ID or government issued ID for my online students only. Okay, I can't stress that enough. Only my online students. My online students, it is a required proctored event, which means that if you do not complete this required proctored event, you will have an F in the course automatically. That is in your syllabus. It has been provided in your syllabus since the beginning of the semester. That is a requirement for all online classes, and this is our proctored event. So in-class students, 20% of your grade still has to be a visual recording, cannot be an audio recording, because this is the requirements for the project. So let's jump into it. All right, so what you'll see here first is the instructions, how to use UJA to record and submit your project, the actual link to UJA, and then the rubric. I know this may look a bit different for students because it's in instructor mode. So in student mode, I'll go ahead and switch it so you all can see this. So it can be projecting as what you'll actually see. And so you'll just click on your tabs to go to the next thing, okay? It already took you to the UJA page when we tried to do that. All right, so let's get into the project itself. We'll download that. All right, so required proctored event. This is for my online students, okay? So you must, sorry about that. So you must select one of these options, okay? If you have something outside of this, as far as creativity, I had a student that asked me, could they write a poem and perform their poem as it relates to a psychological topic, content, concept, theory, or even just anything they were kind of interested in as it relates to any of the material we covered over the course of the semester this far, or anything that is already in the textbook, even if we haven't covered it yet. So get as creative as you want to. You just have to get approval if it's something outside of what's listed here. All right, so number one, write and perform a song about psychology. The song must include information about several psychological terms or concepts or people covered in the text or through the course content covered throughout the semester. You can't just name drop a few people within your song about psychology. It needs to be, the song in itself needs to be about psychology, and those terms or concepts or theories or people, those contributors need to be included within the song. And then I'll need you to provide me some references, okay? So one reference that you'll automatically have, that you should have regardless, would be your textbook. Of course, you can go out and get outside resources, just can't use Wikipedia. But any other credible source, in addition to your book, you're more than welcome to use. But at minimum, you should at least be able to provide me reference from your textbook. All right, so that's one option. The second option, to perform and record a mini play or skit about a psychological disorder. You can do this as a group project. If you are going to do this as a group project, I will need your group members' names. I will need to see those group members' identification for my online students so that I can make sure you are who you say you are. And that's if you want to. If you don't want to work in a group, you definitely don't have to. To perform this skit, you can use friends, you can use family members. You just need to let them know that they are being recorded and that the recording will be submitted to me. So you need to get their approval that they're okay with being recorded and that it's being sent to me for review for a grade. I will not share this to the class. This will be just for my viewing, but still need to get their consent, okay? It can be a play/skit where people role play. You can act like you're the client or they're the client, and one is the therapist, and you're diagnosing the disorder and you're providing one of the treatments that was discussed on last week in therapies. It doesn't have to be one of the therapies that was discussed on last week. We just hit kind of like the tip of the iceberg. There's so many different therapies, different models and things like that that can be used. We just kind of focused on the main kind of categories of therapy. So you can do that. That is one. You need to make sure that you're using the correct terms, psychological terms. You know how to pronounce the disorders. You're giving more information, some psychoeducation about the disorder. And what the psychoeducation means is that, you know, you're defining it. If you're acting like you're the therapist, you're telling them what this disorder is. What are some of the symptoms of this disorder? And then you're kind of going over the techniques of the therapy that you're going to use with that client. There's some really good information out there on YouTube, and just kind of like sample therapy sessions for different type of therapy models that you can use if you decide to do this particular option. So just kind of take a look at that. Limit to 5 minutes. If you go beyond 5 minutes, I'm not going to count it against you. I just don't want this to be something that is 30 minutes long, 20 minutes long, you know, anything. We don't need that much. Okay. It can just be a very short session. Teach a lesson on a chapter in your psychology textbook. The lesson must include all the components of that chapter. Your lesson must include visual aids and last no longer than 10 minutes. With all the components of that chapter, I wouldn't choose a chapter such as like chapter 4. Chapter 4 is about lifespan and development. That is the largest, longest chapter in your textbook. That's a lot of content that you would be trying to cover in a span of 10 minutes. I can't cover that amount of content in 10 minutes, so I wouldn't choose a chapter like that. I'm willing to compromise with students if you have a chapter that you're really, really interested in, and it's a lot of information in that chapter. Focus on one particular component of that chapter. A lot of chapters are broken down into either 3 parts or 4 parts. Some go past 4 parts. So if you want to focus on a particular area, that's fine. If you don't have something in the textbook, or you have not found it in a textbook, and you're like, I know this is a psychological topic, I know this has something to do with psychology, but you just don't know how to make the connection, send that to me. Send me your idea. And if it is indeed, I can connect you, make the connection for you, let you know what chapter it's a part of, how you can make that connection back and make it relevant, so that you're doing something that you truly enjoy, that you want to talk about, want to discuss, want to present, and that you're kind of teaching us as well. So I try to give students a great deal of autonomy here, so that they're actually doing something that they enjoy and doing it in a way that is most comfortable for them and will kind of let their talent shine. So these are some of your options. Again, if you have a creative option that is not listed here, it needs to be approved by me first. I'm pretty open-minded. So again, if you have something, let me know. If you're going to teach a lesson, then typically students are going to, what I'm looking for is for you to use like PowerPoint. If you're going to use PowerPoint to teach your lesson, then you need to have some visual aids. It does not need to be a long, drawn out PowerPoint. If you're teaching one component, you can get that done in about 8 to 10 slides, to be honest with you. And that's you having a title page and you having a reference page. So really kind of the bulk of the project could be like 8 slides, to be honest with you. Doesn't need to be long and drawn out. You can really get the job done. I don't need quantity over quality. I prefer the quality of your work. And make sure that if you are doing a presentation or teaching a lesson, that it is no longer than 10 minutes. That's the sufficient amount of time. All right, so make sure that you read this thoroughly. Make sure you read over the directions for UGE thoroughly. There are no makeups. There are no extensions. There are no points deducted if you turn in late a project. The project is due November the 7th by 11:59 p.m. I will not accept the project after that under any circumstances, because you all are having the entire week to focus solely on the project. You have no other assignments besides the project. So make sure that you take this very seriously. For my in-class students, because you are in class, and this is not a proctored event for you all, because your identity has been established and you come to class, it is 20% of your grade. That's a great deal of your grade. So this isn't something that I would look at as an option to do. For my online students, you absolutely have to. You are required to do this, or your grade is automatically an F. So make sure that you complete this project. Make sure that you have, if you have any questions, that you send me an email. If you want to do something that's outside of what's listed here, that you provide me that information so that I can give you the green light. Say, yes, that sounds great to me. These are the things you need to make sure of. Or if you don't have any questions, that's great. I just wanted to communicate this message to you all, so that you all knew what I was expecting. And so that you wouldn't have any kind of gray areas about, well, is this okay? What does she mean by this? What does she mean by that? So that's what I have for the psychology project. Make sure you do this. Cannot stress enough, for my online students, required project event must display within the recording a school ID or a government issued ID. And that's it. That's all I have. Good luck and be creative.